You're listening to the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. Now here's your hosts, Kevin, Derek, and Alex.
All right, and welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the Good Old Boys Fantasy Football Podcast. I am Derek, and I'm joined, as always, by your co-host, Kevin. Kevin, how are we doing tonight?
Doing good, man. Doing good. Hope you had a Merry Christmas with the family. Got to watch a lot of football, which is always a good thing. Made it through semifinal weekend. Definitely not unscathed. I had a rough weekend across multiple leagues, but we're still in a few, and that's what we're going to focus on here to bring home some ships.
Yeah, Gerald Everett.
Yeah, Gerald Everett.
Like, and you know, it's one of those that I could also say the same thing with Devontae Adams, J.K. Dobbins, Stephon Diggs, Jerick McKinnon. Like, there was one of these, and you and I were talking about this a little bit before we got going here, that I was in a league going in last night that I needed Gerald Everett to have a stat line of like 2 receptions for 5 yards. Like that was it. And it would have gotten me home type of thing. The goose egg and ended a championship run and my title defense in that league. So a little bit bounce there, but the good news is the title counter is running. And this last week I took down 2 different championships. So we've already got 2 titles to hang on to the mantle this year, and still alive in like 4 or 5 more leagues here in week 17, playing for some titles here. So we'll see what we can do on bringing home those good old boys titles here.
Nothing wrong with that. I tell you, the guy who really hammered me in the home league, Ramondre Stevenson. Like, that was brutal. I played him over Joe Mixon, and boy, did that bite me in the keister.
Yeah, I feel you. I played Jerick McKinnon and J.K. Dobbins over Joe Mixon this past week, and that one bit me in that same league that I was just talking about with Gerald Everett. Had I made the switch over there, it wouldn't have mattered going into Monday night. Gerald Everett could have goose egg, and I still would have made it through.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
To be fair, I did go up against CeeDee Lamb and Travis Kelce in our home league, so I was climbing a bit uphill. And then not having Jalen came home to roost. Unfortunately, that one did not do me favors. But that's all right. Here we are. We're gonna move on. We got some ships to worry about. We got some tournaments that you and I are in that we're worrying about here that can bring home some cash for us. So, here we are.
And another little accolade while we're mentioning it, we did take down the top spot in the Baby Bowl out there as well this past week. So took down the top spot. We're fighting to see here going into week 17 to see if we can't finish inside the money prize on that tournament there as well. Not far off of it. We've got a shot here, and I like our chances here going into week 17. So hopefully we can bring home that one here as well. So some good things going on all around here. Some interesting games there, some interesting bowl games kind of going on. There's going to be a lot of crazy things here coming down week 17. Nathaniel Hackett's no longer the Broncos head coach.
This is where we need sound bites.
Yes.
Like we need some just to hear a crowd erupting with cheer and praise. And that would be Broncos country bidding farewell to Nathaniel Hackett and really the entire offensive staff.
The offensive line coach got fired. The special teams coordinator got fired. I actually heard that they offered the head coaching job to the defensive coordinator, and the defensive coordinator goes, nope, not finished. Not going to take that one. I'm going to finish out with the defense because that's a much better thing for me to try and hang my hat on for going into this coaching cycle than trying to, hang my hat on the interim head coach of this dumpster fire.
Yeah, it is. And unfortunately, he did a great job, and he is absolutely on the move. Like, there's no way we're keeping him. So, yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what this coaching cycle produces. There's some parts about it that I think are interesting. Obviously, as a Bronco fan, our shoot the moon, like, if we could have anybody, would be Sean Payton.
That one might be tough.
I don't know that that's going to happen. I think this team needed to be a bit more competitive for him to come in. I don't know that he wants a project, and at the moment, that's kind of what these Broncos are. So unless he sees things that, the rest of us don't, which is possible, he is a very good football mind, a very strong mind. I think it's going to be tough. I don't want a first-time head coach. We've run our experiment with that. We did it with Vance Joseph. We did it with Vic Fangio. We've done it with Nathaniel Hackett. I'm done. I'm done with these first-time head coaches.
Give me Jim Caldwell over some of these other guys that you're going to bring in.
Frank Wright.
Yes.
Like, give me something.
Marvin Lewis, bring in Marvin Lewis over some of these other kind of guys. Although, the only first time head coach that I'd be like, okay, yep, that makes sense, and I would be like, yep, let's rally behind this one is Eric Bieniemy. Like, that's the one guy that'd be like, yep, let's do that one. But
I've kind of cooled on him. I was really pounding the table this last head coaching cycle for him, and I've kind of cooled on the process. Like, I'm not overly convinced that he is the guy. He's the adult in the room to handle these Denver Broncos players. Like, I want a who's who and a leader of men to come in and set the tone and develop an identity in Denver. And I don't know that Bieniemy's equipped to do that at this point in his coaching career. Not that he can't do it, but I don't know that he's equipped to do it right now. And I feel like we've tried this enough with all these first-time guys. We need to wash our hands of this, at least for a coaching cycle, and see if we get a different result with a proven commodity.
Yeah, I could see that one. I think it'll be very difficult, though. Broncos trying to bring in Sean Payton, not only from the standpoint that this is, for lack of a better terminology here, is a dumpster fire, just a big flaming dumpster fire here in Denver with this organization. Not only that, I saw some things over the weekend where Fangio and Payton are linked going into this coaching cycle, where Payton actually came out and said that he's going to have Fangio be his DC on his next job that he gets. So that might be a little bit of a tall order there for Fangio to want to come back to Denver.
The defense was good under Fangio, though.
Right?
It wasn't Fangio's defense. It was he had no idea how to handle the offense. Like, I'm not sour on Fangio because he didn't win enough games. He didn't. They didn't particularly draft well under him, but I am.
That's also not necessarily him. That's a lot on John Elway and George Patton, though.
Right. And so I would not. He may feel differently about Denver, but from a Denver fan, I would not be saying no way because I don't want Vic Fangio. I would take his defensive prowess and mastermind and go, because that defense did really good things under him. The offense was just abysmal. Like,
right. The offense was better than this year's offense, though.
Crazy
markedly,
it was. Yeah.
Markedly better.
Like, we're a 7-win team right now. Vic Fangio's, if
right,
nothing would have changed,
we're
right?
in the
if
hunt.
Vic would have stayed, we would have been in the hunt.
Right. Not only that, when you also look at some of these other things there, the Broncos, in order to get Payton, are going to have to trade. Whoever's going to land Sean Payton is going to have to make a trade with the Saints in order to do that, because of the contract situation and all of that as well. And I don't know that the Broncos have enough capital.
Own his rights?
Yeah. Yeah, it was like through 2024, 25, I think, something like that. I think is when the extension was. I'd have to look it up to be certain there. But it's one of those that is going to take and a +2 when he retires. It actually doesn't, those years don't keep counting on that. He still has those same years left on the contract. Same situation with Gronk in New England when he retired and came back and they traded him to Tampa Bay. Like, it was still still that same contract that was in place when he retired, type of thing. So
yeah, until the Saints, but the Saints could file paperwork, right, to essentially release him from said contract with no penalty on either side. Like, they wouldn't owe Peyton money because he stepped away, and teams wouldn't have to trade. I don't know if the Saints are going to necessarily do that, but I mean, they could, I guess.
Well, at that point, right? Because I don't know that you're going to see Peyton go back to New Orleans, right? Like, that's going to be a project in itself there as well. That defense is old. They have salary cap issues. They don't have a quarterback there. They've got some pieces, but it's a lot of piecemealing that's going to have to take place there. So I don't know that he wants to go back there either. But I don't know why the Saints would necessarily move on from that. Yes, they wouldn't have to necessarily pay him by doing that, but they also would be getting, most of the time coaches, you get a second or third round pick in a lot of cases back on that as a compensation type of thing. I think that was the deal back when Gruden went from LA to Tampa was a third round type of pick and some draft capital and compensation there. And quite frankly, the Broncos, outside of that Bradley Chubb trade, weren't sitting on a first or second round this year. Now they're sitting on a late first because of Bradley Chubb no longer, being a Bronco. Anyway, we can keep diving down this rabbit hole. But what do you think? Should we move on to some other things in our Denver Broncos fandom here?
Yes. We can move on. That was just kind of the biggest news of the week outside of players who let us down. And there were a number of them.
Right. There were a bunch of those. We also do have the finals set for the Scramble Eliminator. You're kind of going in there as the guy to beat this weekend on that one. So both teams on the East Division made it through. Both the two teams that were left on the West Division saw their end come through here, where that East Division outscored the West, and we have a full on East Conference or East Division championship here going into this one. So very interesting.
Wire to wire here,
right?
I have never done that, and I have come close, but I have never completed a wire to wire season. Right. So I am very optimistic, and I am looking forward to the opportunity. But it'll be tough. It'll be a tough week.
I know the person sitting there that they're playing against is looking to try and knock you off and take home a title here as well. So
yeah, I bet they are. So
should be an interesting one. Should be a lot of fun there. And we'll let you guys know how that one turns out there as well. But we've got you're kind of heading into the waiver wire here. There's not much out there, as you can imagine. But what are some guys that you're potentially looking at here, waiver wire wise?
So this week, waiver wire is all about trying to put as much pressure on your opponent as possible. And here's what I mean. If your opponent has Geno Smith, right? If Geno Smith has been their guy and he's been the one kind of propelling them to the fantasy championship, Geno doesn't have a good matchup this week against the Jets.
Nope.
So I'm looking to acquire free agent quarterbacks for scrubs on my roster, right? Like if guys have zero chance of playing on your championship roster, if it does not hurt your opponent, you need to drop them and pick up guys that your opponent can't grab that will hurt them. Like this week is all about strategy and just trying to jockey around and not build the depth of your bench. This is a one-game winner-take-all situation. You want to, without giving your opponent any boost in strength, you want to get rid of anybody on your roster that you're not thinking about playing and grab guys who could potentially benefit your opponent.
Agreed, right? And so one of those two, a lot of leagues have it where the tiebreaker comes down to bench points on that as well. So, that's something else there too to keep an eye on is, add those guys that are going to be, bigger swings, things like that if you happen to end up in a tie type of situation that you take it home off of the tiebreaker, right? Like those are some other things to kind of look at there as well. Tyler Algier is a guy that I would tell you to keep an eye on. And probably the only guy that I'm looking to add as maybe a start type of guy. Jahan Dotson also might be that guy there as well. He's been playing pretty well.
If you're a Derrick Henry owner or if your opponent is a Derrick Henry owner, keep an eye on Derrick Henry this week.
Thursday night game,
little dinged up. We find out tomorrow. We'll get a better read tomorrow. Obviously, we'll find out Thursday, 90 minutes before kickoff. But if Henry doesn't go, you want to snatch up any Tennessee running back you can find.
Haskins, Dontrell Hillard.
Yeah.
Like those guys.
Also, your opponent can't have them. I'm not saying play them, but those are guys that you want to snatch up specifically if you're going against a Henry owner. Put the pain on them. Make it difficult for them to plug and play someone else, right? Like that is something to be looking at. Honestly, Zach Moss is probably another guy that you need to look at if you're thin at running back or if you're not loving one of your matchups. Zach Moss is a potential flex play this week that could help you. So things like that are where you kind of want to jockey around a little bit to try and make your situation slightly stronger.
Yeah. So that's some great points there, right? So just kind of recap here. Again, make sure that if you've got some guys out there that you're not that are not going to play, like those are the guys that you're looking to add. You're looking to add guys that could be a starter for your championship roster. And it's as much playing keep away as it isn't there to try and make sure that you're not leaving your opponent anything else that they can plug and play and trying to, shore up any holes there. One of those that you, if they've got to try and plug and play, you want them to have to really reach deep for the, the Matt Flynn's of the world to, try and bank on a career day to try and beat you type of thing. Like that's where you're trying to play. More so than anything else there. So something to keep an eye on, something to keep a worthwhile on. Any other thoughts or ideas here around the waiver wire this week?
If you're projected to lose some long shots, you said Tyler Algier, Mike White. If you're looking for quarterback, you kind of need a home run. Greg Dortch, seeing a lot of targets. Saw a ton of usage last week against Tampa Bay. Greg Dortch is another guy. Let's see.
Tyler Algier just has a great matchup too. Like the more I'm looking at that, the more I'm going. You need to, if you can do that, and you're running, and your opponent needs any running back help at all, do not leave Tyler Algier out there. He has finished running back 5, running back 14 on back-to-back weeks. He has seen the volume. Cordell Patterson is not. Atlanta likes to run the ball. Not going to surprise me for him to see probably 18 touches out of the backfield. And Arizona gives up a bunch of points to opposing running back. So that's a guy that you don't want to have to be potentially squaring off against. And if you need the upshot, that's a guy that can give you some potential upshot and potential ceiling play for you as well.
Absolutely.
Any other thoughts here? Wide receivers, anybody else we need to be on the lookout for?
I mean, not anything I don't think that there's going to be anything out there that's going to dramatically boost your chances of winning, right? You made it this far off of a solid and complete roster for the most part, right? Like your holes are probably very minimal. It's not like teams in your league, at least hopefully teams in your league, aren't just dropping guys because they're mad because that they lost, right? Like that is shenanigans in itself. So it's just trying to jockey some bench strength, in my opinion, to really try and put discomfort on your opponent.
What are your thoughts on Romeo Doubs this week? He's a guy out there that's not rostered in like 80% of leagues. Christian Watson may miss. Minnesota, horrible passing defense there. Any thoughts about and consideration towards him?
Probably not.
Okay.
He hasn't shown enough consistently to make me want to play him even in a flex spot this season. I'd rather take I'd rather deal with Drake London. I'd rather have Donovan Peoples-Jones. I think I would rather go for the upside of why am I not thinking about his name? I'll think about it here in a second. Now I'm stuck on it. I'm sorry. Doesn't matter. So no, I'm not going Dobbs. Brandon Cooks. Sorry. I like Brandon Cooks a little bit more. Gabe Davis. is another high side play that I would like over Romeo Doubs. So there's some options there. Zay Jones over Romeo Doubs. I think those are all guys who maybe aren't necessarily out there, but if they're on your roster, guys that I like more than him this week.
Fair enough. And guys, if you have any questions, question, comments, anything like that, throw them out there in the chat. Let's talk about those. Let's make sure that you guys are all set here. Week 17 and championship week here for fantasy football. But Kevin, while we're waiting for some of those to come in, let's go ahead and hit up the Pine and Shine recap here for week 16. And Alex started us off with the Pine. He called for Brian Robinson to be a Pine, going up against a very tough matchup with the Niners. And that one looked like it was a bit of a hit there. What about your Pine?
My Pine this past week was Terry McLaurin. I did not think he was going to have nearly as good of a game as he did against the San Francisco 49ers. He was projected RB13, finished at wide receiver 13, finished at wide receiver 13. So I'm taking the hit on that one.
All righty. I called for Christian Watson to be a Pine, and injury kind of saved me on that one because he came out looking red hot in that first series or first half there, going, six receptions on 8 targets for like 48 yards. Did not hit his projection, which I know on our Friday show I called for him to have the under on the yardage there. Ended up squeaking through on that one and finishing below his expert consensus ranking there again. So took the hit, ended up making that shot there. Let's go ahead and move on over to the shines. Alex was calling for the shine on Darius Slayton versus the Vikings. Very bad pass defense, and that one was a miss for him there. What about your shine?
I took a push on my shine. Najee Harris, right? I needed him to get in the end zone. Actually, football-wise, had a very good game. Was very instrumental on that final drive for the Steelers to kind of ice that game away from the Raiders. But the lack of his presence in the end zone, and really the Steelers stuttering in the red zone all evening long, stymied that. So it's a push, but I need to do better. I don't like that result.
I called for Tyler Algier to shine last week. Wasn't quite the upshot that I thought there. I thought he'd get an RB1, but definitely outperformed his expectations, where he was kind of in that RB3 to flex type of range there. So definitely shined on that one as with an RB14 finish last week. That's going to take us to Alex being 16-12. Kevin, you're sitting at 16-13-3. And I'm sitting at 19-9-4 on this one. So we've got some interesting things here down the play. And we're going to just add the 2 that Alex didn't get just onto his loss column there for next week. So there we go. So, a little bit of teaser there. You'll have to stay tuned and see who Alex picked for his Pine and Shine here later on in the show. But anyway, poking a little bit of fun there. Let's go ahead and head on over into the Thursday night game here. We've got the Cowboys and the Titans squaring off. Titans are favored by 10. Over under in this one is 41.5. What are your thoughts here?
Cowboys by 10, right?
Yes. Did I say Titans?
See.
I meant the Cowboys. Them boys, they're favored by 10. The Titans are favored to lose by 10. That's how we're doing that.
There you go. I'm going to take the Cowboys. Man, I really kind of like the push here, but I'm going to take the Cowboys to cover because we don't play pushes. I found their groove, played a really good game against Philadelphia. I'm hoping that this isn't the letdown game, right? They had one of those last 2 weeks ago against Jacksonville. They need to stay primed for the playoffs, knowing that they're not going to get a bye week. So they're kind of in do or die mode as far as getting that mindset going. Tennessee, they're skidding, right? They're not playing good football right now. It doesn't really matter what they seem to do. Again, Malik Willis is going to be playing quarterback, so the Cowboys are going to be sack happy when he does decide to drop back. And I think they're going to be creeping a lot of guys in the box, whether it's Derrick Henry or not.
Yeah, there's a real possibility that Derrick Henry misses this one as well. And without Derrick Henry, I don't know how the Titans move the ball down the field.
Sorry. I'm taking the under. I don't know that I said that. Very much the same mindset, but Cowboys and under.
And that's the thing is I'm sitting there like if Derrick Henry plays, I think this thing gets to the over. If Derrick Henry doesn't play, I think that the under comes into play just because I don't see the Cowboys putting up 40 some points by themselves in this one. I could see this coming to, you know what? I'm going to join you on that under train there. I think that's probably where we'll be at on this one. I think that Cowboys win. I think that we see the under on this one. I am very excited for a couple of matchups in this game, though. Like Dak against this Tennessee secondary, I think that he is going to feast on this one. The Titans have been pretty good against the run. Tony Pollard banged up. I know he missed a practice earlier this week. I didn't look at the practice reports for today to see if he made it back on that one yet. But yeah, I do think that we're going to see a Dallas Cowboy game and a whole lot of not many points scored on this one. So I'll join you. Cowboys and the under there. Any other thoughts on this matchup, this game?
No, I don't expect this to be very entertaining after like the middle of the third quarter. And it could be sooner than that. So Cowboys are they really should just dominate this game. There's really no reason that it shouldn't come out well for them. So,
and now the last time you and I thought that they'd come out and dominate the game was that Texans game where they just kind of messed around here. And hopefully that's not the same that we see there. But anyway, we'll go ahead and move along on that one. Let's go ahead and head on over to the Pine and the Shine for week 17 here. What are you thinking for your Pine?
I don't know. I haven't made up my mind yet, Derek. I think my Pine for this week is going to be Kenneth Walker III, going up against a Jets defense that is physical. They do a good job stopping the running back. So I think Kenneth Walker III is going to have a subpar week.
I could see that one. Definitely a tougher matchup there. I've kind of gone back and forth in between two different deals there. And one of them is a Thursday night call. The other one plays later on this week. But the two that I keep kind of bouncing back and forth is Tony Pollard. I mentioned him earlier, right? But the fact that he's questionable right here, I'm going to shy away from that one. I'm not going to take the potential easy out there if he doesn't go on this one. So I'm going to call for Josh Jacobs to be a Pine this week. The Raiders look like they are just about ready to fully pack this thing in this season. And I think that this is, prime game. They're up against a very tough matchup with San Francisco. And I think we're Josh Jacobs going to definitely underperform his running back 6 as far as a consensus ranking goes there. What about the Shine? Who you got outperforming and having a pretty good game this week?
I think my Shine, I think my Shine this week is going to be Brandon Ayuk going up against the Raiders this Sunday. I think, do I want to do that?
I would say he's kind of struggled with the switch over from Garoppolo to Brock Purdy there a little bit.
Yeah, I'm going to pivot. I'm going to go Devonta Smith. I think he has back-to-back really strong games for the Eagles.
Okay. I could see that one there. Devonta Smith, another guy that killed me in one of my semifinal matchups this past weekend. But yeah, he could very well see another really good game and a back-to-back bounce back. My Shine, I'm going to double up on this one. I took Tyler Algier last week to be my Shine. I'm going to just ride that one there as well. Yeah, I think that he will have a very, very solid game up against a very easy opponent this week here as well. So, yeah, Arizona just kind of gives up the gives up points in masses to the to opposing running backs there. Atlanta likes to run the ball. So Tyler Algier, right now he's RB29 as far as kind of an expert consensus goes there. I think that we see him get easily up into RB2, and I think that he's going to be a top 20 type of back here when this week's all said and done. So I'm going to just ride with the old Tyler Algier yet again on this one. And that's where we'll kind of go with our pines and shines. And Alex is, he's going to ride with goose eggs in his pine and his shine for this week.
Silly Alex.
There we go. Alrighty, he's gonna need a heck of a week 18. That's what he'll need, I'm sure. Alrighty. Well, guys, if you have any questions out there, make sure you get them in here. Let's go ahead and hit these things up, get these things rocking and rolling. Really rock and roll, and make sure you guys are doing everything you can to get them cash and them trophies out there. Week 17 championship week is certainly upon us. Kevin, any other kind of pointers or strategy out there that we need to look at for the viewers and listeners?
When it comes down to this, you need a little bit of luck, right? Unfortunately, that's kind of just where it is. You need your guys to kind of hit off touchdowns, win championships, especially in this week, right? You get those extra points, and yes, the yardages and the boosters help, but if you're debating between two guys, a lot of times if you have a hunch, if you have a thought, if they see more red zone targets or red zone touches, that's kind of the tiebreaker there, because you need the opportunities for touchdowns. Cortland Sutton is a interesting type of flex play going up against Kansas City this week, but I would rather take a DK Metcalf going up against a more difficult matchup, but he has the upside of touchdowns. Sutton does not see the end zone a whole heck of a lot.
No, the amount of money I've won off of the Russell Wilson under 1.5 passing touchdowns, because I bet it every single week this year. The amount of money that I've made off of that one has been, very nice. Very nice. So, by the way, when you tune into the Friday show, you might just happen to see me talking about a Russell Wilson under prop on his touchdown passes. And as Alex always tells us, that's what they call a tease in the business.
There you go.
So, yeah, a little tease there for the Friday show. Make sure that you're turning into the Friday show there as well. 11 p.m. Eastern, we're going to go through all the matchups. We're going to hit up the spreads, the over, the unders. We're going through the props on all that. You and I actually both had a pretty good week, very profitable week this last week on that one. There as well with our calls that we made on the Friday picks there. You actually put up the best ranking there that I've seen of all season long this last week. So definitely brought that thing home with a 30 and 15 overall record on across all spreads, over unders, and props.
I like it.
Yeah, I was sitting there feeling pretty good about mine, and then I looked at yours and go, he still beat me. So, but no, it was very good for both of us this last week, and definitely turned it around there. So, hopefully trying to keep that same mojo working here in going into week 17 and championship week there as well. So guys, make sure you tune in Friday night, 11 p.m. Eastern, right there on the YouTube channel. Click the subscribe button, ring the bell, and you'll get notified when we go live. That's youtube.com/@goodoldboysff. But Kevin, I think that's going to bring us down here to the end of it. Any final thoughts out there for the viewers and listeners?
Short, sweet, and to it, y'all. Good luck. If you have any questions, hit us up. We'll help at least suggest what we would do if we were in your situation. But hopefully next week when everybody's turning in, everybody's holding a lot of gold and green in their hand.
I like it. I like it a lot. Let's go get it. Cash and trophies, y'all. It is the time is nigh. Let's go make it happen. You can find us on all the socials, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, @GoodOldBoysFF. We go live with the show on Fridays, Tuesdays, 11 p.m. Eastern on both Twitch and YouTube. Best place to support this independent podcast. Head over to YouTube, click that subscribe button, and help us out there. But that's going to do it for us. He's Kevin. I'm Derek. Have a good one, y'all. Be safe. Toodaloo.